How's it going, everyone? It seems like it's been quite some time since Aha was last discussed on this channel. For the most part, I try not to throw his name around too much. Despite how personal and open his music is, I really don't know the guy, and can't say I always understand his songs. But with his latest project, Trilliam 3, there came a lot of songs with heated subject material that I thought would be great for this new series. It could be that the other songs get discussed at some point, but I thought a great starting point would be All Black Party. As with the last installment in this new series, I'll be breaking this song down bit by bit and seeing what we can learn from it, biblically speaking. For all of the controversial subjects covered in Aha's music, his belief in God nonetheless permeates his songs lyrically. And so I think there's more to this track than meets the eye. Let's start from the beginning. This song leads off on an interesting note. Despite it being called the All Black Party, the track has Aha musing to himself with ambiguous statements.
Party number 3, last one, let's go. Oh, best believe they still gonna ride. They wanna get up, but I lock the doors.
So, who is Aha talking about when he says they? Well, I've thought about it, and here's my best bet. This they, to some extent, must represent a specific and symbolic white audience that listens to Aha's music. This audience was along for the ride during the first Trillium, where All White Party was Aha's first attempt at appealing to many of the audience's preconceived notions of black people. It was him playing to the American system, and from his perspective, within the system, white people get theirs first, hence the All White Party being the first party song. He even, as he says in the chorus, switched up to all white in the All White Party. All of this to bring this particular audience in. Come Trillium 2, the first song has a woman giving warning to listeners that the ride, while initially smooth, may get increasingly uncomfortable as time goes by. And so it does, with Trillium 2 starting to show some more obvious signs as to what Aha is really about. By Trillium 3, specifically by the ending, Aha is aware that he's revealed his true colors to this audience he initially had enamored with him. I mean, if they were still cool with his message, why would he mention anything about locking doors? It's a little ominous, but Aha doesn't mean violence towards these trapped listeners. It's more so that they'll be forced to listen to and be exposed to some hard truths, and a perspective that they may have not heard before. Well then, how's that for an intro? With the doors locked and the music as loud as can be, Aha takes listeners, both those who embrace him and those who aren't so with it, on a journey. Overall, it's a very straightforward trip that explores black history, black culture, and ultimately provides a personal glimpse into why Aha is so frequently heard talking about race in his music. That's a lot to cover in one fell swoop though, so let's start with the first verse, which covers a bit of black history. Before Aha really starts to cover anything, he reminds listeners that he's not trying to start any new drama or problems. These racial issues have been going on since long ago, and even more recently, as he shows by referencing the Middle Passage and the African slaves who, among many other things, had to farm cotton. The whole first verse overall takes us from past to present, highlighting some important aspects of black culture, or at the least, the way it's presented to Aha's audience of listeners. This brings us to the hook, which has Aha listing off highly notable figures in black entertainment and casting his lot with them. And this hits us with the impression that Aha is not only black, but he's for black people as well. The idea that being black is inherently worldly or sinful is a stupid idea from Aha's perspective, and according to an exclusive interview with 24/7 Hip Hop, Aha is trying to make a point in this hook. His point, as best as I can summarize it, is that many of the bad things associated with black culture are actually things only perpetuated by the media, and due to the media's massive influence on the average American, if that person doesn't know any better, they end up believing the harmful stereotypes and tropes concerning black people. Thus, as Aha puts it, if that person becomes afraid of the dark, believing that black people are dangerous, it's not the actual fault of black people. After this, he asserts multiple times that he's black, with no further context. I think that here we can see the heart of the song. It's not about wrong or right, but more so self-expression and perspective. Regardless of what others think or feel, Aha is black, and he's not going to hide that aspect of himself to put others at ease. Then we have this second verse, which is pretty straightforward. He addresses some of his issues with this audience that criticizes him, such as how he talks about Jesus but still has pretty girls in his music videos. He also seems to have some issues with their political beliefs, as he mentions these people voted for Donald Trump and Mike Pence. Towards the end of this verse, he makes things a bit more obvious by clarifying that this isn't a fight about Christ, but rather black against white. And it's not that he hates white people, but this specific group of white people that oppose him are, from his perspective, ignorant to his pigment. Thus, they struggle to understand his perspective as a black man, and come down on him instead of trying to listen or let him be. He wraps it all up by concluding that these people ultimately can't control him, and so essentially he's going to continue being himself, and that means he's going to continue being proudly black. So we have all of this going on a lyrical level, but I think the beat really helps to glue the whole thing together. Now, I'm no producer, so I can't go too in-depth, but once the beat drops near the beginning of this song, the atmosphere shifts entirely from serious to celebratory and upbeat. It's this melodic and party-friendly beat that further clarifies Aha's intent. All Black Party is not intended to paint white people as villainous, nor does it make black people seem like helpless victims. Instead, All Black Party happily celebrates being black. So we've analyzed this song's layout for the most part, and I think it's about time to give my thoughts on it. In my opinion, this sort of song can't really be said to be wrong or right. Aha's not wrong for making a song like this, but that doesn't put him in the right for it either. I mean, there's a lot of nuances to this song. I think it's great that Aha simply claimed he was black without adding anything to it. I spent a lot of time as a kid in predominantly white areas, having to earn my blackness in a weird way. I looked different, but if my behavior and way of speaking matched up too closely with my white peers, which it did, I was no longer actually black to them. Looking back, who cares? But that really got to me as a kid, and I'm sure other black people experience it. For Aha to say that he's black simply for being black is an empowering message that we don't have to adhere to any stereotypes the media perpetuates about us. On the other hand, I readily understand how this song might come across to white people. The party is indeed all black, and is meant to celebrate the beauty and joy of being black. No one can take that blackness from him, whether by trying to box him in, stereotype him, or anything of the sort. There's not much room in the song for any other subject matter or interpretation, and so the song is really at its truest when Aha says multiple times that he's black. But that's usually how self-expression goes. Aha only has his limited perspective and life experience to go off of. He can't speak for other black people who might feel different or disagree. He can't speak for the white people that genuinely seek unity with their black brethren. He can only speak for himself and how he sees things. It just so happens that he put it in song form for countless people to hear. In that light, no matter what anyone does, if they are expressing themselves in their own opinions, there's likely to be someone or some group that gets a bit alienated in the process. I don't think it's right, but I can't say it's wrong either, because people are allowed to express themselves. In fact, I'd wager that the pushback Aha gets from expressing himself was what ultimately led to a song like this, as he's continually been a heart on your sleeve type of artist. Now, of course, biblically, we have some very solid lines to work with. We need to love one another as Jesus loved us. This is a very straightforward foundation for us to work with, and personally, I don't feel that Aha really overstepped that line. He shared his perspective and expressed himself without condemning or denouncing the faith of anyone. He even insists that these particular critics he has aren't stupid or idiotic, just culturally ignorant. When I really think about it, this song isn't as racially divisive as it might seem initially. The black against white line seems like it's more about cultural clash than black people strictly fighting white people. And going by the rest of the song's non-violent and celebratory nature, I'm pretty confident about this assessment. The ultimate thing I'd say there is to learn about this song is that there are people with different experiences and perspectives from you. Shoot, I'm black and I was initially caught off guard by this song, because things are different racially speaking between the South and Las Vegas, which is where I grew up. If we're really going to love one another as Christians, I think a great starting place is to genuinely try to understand each other and where we're coming from. I had to listen to this song multiple times until I felt I could comfortably understand it without trying to soften it up or make the message more politically correct. Well, that's All Black Party for you, a simple song that seems to be more self-expression than anything else. To wrap up this video, I have a few questions for you guys. Firstly, as Christians, how can we go about expressing ourselves in a way that doesn't condemn or vilify others? Secondly, when others express themselves, what are some good ways to try and establish common ground or understanding with them? And finally, do you agree with my assessment of All Black Party, or was I off the mark with this one? Well, as always, thanks for watching guys, and until next week, peace out.